from the top.
Holy bleeping bleep, Alabama is really good.
And then Mitch Trubisky wins the Nickelodeon Valuable Player Award.
People are like, that's disgraceful, that's distasteful, like, that's just so bad. Who cares?
If I'm Mitch Trubisky, that trophy's going right on the mantle. MVP, baby. MVP.
It's like Shrek 4, okay? Shrek 1 was okay. Shrek 2, no one wanted.
Whoa, Shrek 1, okay? 74 million people voted for Donald Trump, and 81 million people voted for Joe Biden. We can't throw out the other side of the country. We must move forward together. With that, Nicole, let's talk some football. Hi, everybody, and Happy New Year. For those that are new to SNS, this is our 5th episode. And then for our faithful, I think we're up to 11 listeners, Nicole.
11 listeners. Wow. Humbled, honored, so grateful. Thank you. Thank you all.
Double-digit listeners, welcome back.
We have a lot to unpack on today's episode. It's our first episode in 2021. We here at SNS, Sports and Stuff with Sam and Nicole, we like to keep things pretty light, and literally our podcast is called Sports and Stuff. So we don't really get too serious here, but Sam and I were discussing that we did want to talk about the status and the state of our country right now. We won't take too long on it. That'll be our first quarter that we just kind of want to unpack it, because we don't talk a lot about government or politics, but we would be remiss if we didn't discuss what's going on. It's pretty obvious what's going on. There was protesting and riots on our nation's capital last week. I shouldn't even have to explain that this is sad. I shouldn't even have to say that this is sad, but it's sad. I am a reporter in Lincoln, Nebraska, for those that don't know. I was working that day. I had other stories that was going on. I was working in the morning, and then because this stuff kind of happened, I mean, obviously it was building at the Capitol in DC, and then all of a sudden, like, they breached the Capitol, and then things were just going crazy. It's really sad to watch. And then from a media perspective, I'm just a journalist in Lincoln, Nebraska. Like, I'm not on Capitol Hill, but we are so connected social media wise that like, you see the signs, we've been hearing the fake news, fake media. We've been hearing this all for months, for years. I mean, people have hated the media for decades. This isn't new. It's just become highlighted more because of social media, I believe. But anyways, I digress. So back to our nation's capital. I saw, of course, there's like a lot of memes, a lot of, they're not memes, but like a lot of people are reacting, and like Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, high profile athletes are posting stuff. It just seemed like there's a double standard in our country. Like, how come people are able to even just get into the Capitol when during the BLM protests, like, there was tear gas and a lot of other force called in. I saw a post that said on Instagram, it was like, if your social media is not flooded with people who are outraged by what's going on in the Capitol, those people aren't your friends. You should unfollow them. And I was kind of taken aback by that, because I don't really post a lot of BLM. I don't really reshare a lot of like Dwayne Wade stuff, LeBron James stuff. Not that I don't agree with it. I shouldn't have to. I already agree with it. Like, why should I have to be showing that I condemn this? This should just be condemned. This should not be happening. So it's sad to me. It's not like my silence or not posting is not caring. It's just, it's already bad. Why should I have to verbally condemn something that's bad? So it's kind of my 2 cents on the whole thing. I don't know how much, Sam, we want to get into it, but that was one thing that I just really wanted to hit, was like, yes, we see it, we hear it. It's so sad. Our country, we live in a double standard. It's horrific. It's so sad. But I don't want to have to say like, oh, I condemn this, because it should just already be condemned.
Like Nicole said, we try to keep this pod fun and upbeat, and our ultimate goal is to put a smile on your face. So I did a lot of thinking about it, and I've kind of put in some of my thoughts down, and I just wanted to share them with you. Last Wednesday, there was no smiling like we try to do on this podcast. It was a tipping point. The water has boiled over the sides. All through American history, we have always had an opponent or an enemy. During the Revolution, it was the British. Then we had the Civil War. Then we had the 2 World Wars, then the Cold War, and then the Iraq War. America has been a fighter and always will be. But in the last 10 to 15 years, we have seen a shift of thinking. We think our enemies are colored states instead of foreign countries. We have seen a shift of thinking that has come with the digital age. We no longer get our information from Walter Cronkite at night. We can get our information from anywhere and anytime. The answer is a short Google search away. But when I watched The Social Dilemma, it confirmed that based upon where you live and your interests, you will get a different answer for the same question. For example, if I were to search climate change is, where I live, it might say climate change is real or climate change is happening. If you were to search it in a different part of the country, it'll say climate change is a hoax or climate change is fake. We are in an informational revolution and we can't get straight answers. So how do we fix the problem? I can't fix big tech and I can't fix the national news. It starts with us. Every one of us has to decide to start moving forward. People on the other side of the aisle are people too. They're not our enemy. We have to stop defining people by who they voted for in the last election. 74 million people voted for Donald Trump and 81 million people voted for Joe Biden. We can't throw out the other side of the country. We must move forward together. It starts with everyday conversations. The key is to approach those conversations with empathy and education. Empathy because everyone feels their way for a reason. Education because we don't have all the answers. Be willing to learn someone else's point of view. Be willing to educate someone on a topic that you might know, and be willing to learn something new yourself. Education is the key to us being a highly functioning society. By having those conversations, we create a compound effect that can make real change. So before we have any more people storm the Capitol, burn down buildings, or shoot innocent people, start by having those tough conversations with your friends, family, or even us, especially the people that think differently from you. Because politics is no longer taboo to talk about. Politics is our past, our present, and our future. Remember, the government works for us. We control how we want this country to move forward. So no, you have more power than you think, ability to change our current state, and influence that goes beyond Instagram. With that, Nicole, let's talk some football.
Yes, kind of heavy, had to start it that way. Thank you for sharing that. Like Sam said, if you guys are having a hard time having conversations with people, or you don't agree with what we're saying, or you do agree with what we're saying, please engage with us. Our social media is, we're mainly on Instagram at Sports with Sam and Nicole. This is kind of old news to some people, but we definitely wanted to hit on it. And then the inauguration is coming up very soon. Is a transition of power. The whole country is just kind of going through a transitional phase right now. So just treat people with empathy and kindness. And I know that's so much easier said than done. And I'm not just trying to be some white girl on this podcast trying to be like, treat people with kindness and empathy and like hug a tree. Like, but I just can't stress it enough of just like, we have to love people. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, love is the answer.
E.L.E.
E.L.E.
Will Ferrell? Everybody love everybody? Sam? No? Yes?
I'm so sorry. I missed your reference.
Moving forward, football. The national championship was last night of this recording. We are recording this on January 12th. So we are fresh off the national championship. This podcast, whenever you listen to it, is not going to air until the following day or the week after, whenever you're listening to this. But holy bleeping bleep, Alabama is really good.
Alabama just smacked Ohio State. Nick Saban wins his 7th national championship, 6th with Alabama.
12 years. 6 and 12 years. Every recruiting class that Saban has won a natty.
Which is so crazy. SEC has now won 11 of the previous 15 titles.
Was it Clemson or Alabama who won before LSU? Last year was LSU. The year before that was Clemson. Then it was Alabama. And then it was Clemson. It was Alabama. Clemson and Alabama. Blah, blah, blah. It's like Shrek 4, okay? Shrek 1 was okay. Shrek 2, no one wanted.
Whoa, Shrek 1? Okay.
No one really wants to see Shrek 4.
If you tell me Shrek 2 is the best, I will agree with you because Shrek 2 is the best movie. But anyways, Alabama just overpowered Ohio State, and it didn't help that Ohio State on their first play lost Trey Sermon, their all-star running back, demolished Clemson in the semifinal. He ran for almost 300 yards in the semifinal, and having him go down the first play, it was game-changing. So that really sucks. I really enjoyed watching the game. I unfortunately had a small amount of money on Ohio State on the spread, which was 9.5. They didn't come close to that. The other bet I was telling Nicole I had, which I was super sad about, was I put $5 down that one of the teams would pass for 500 yards. And looking at it retrospectively, that was a stupid, stupid bet because Joe Burrow passed for 460 yards last year, and that was the record. So thinking someone would actually break the record again was dumb. However, Mac Jones throws for 463 yards, and not a single one of them happened in the fourth quarter. So I was sad, to say the least, because I lost my bet.
Surprising because like Lee Corso also had Ohio State. And I was pulling, people ask me, they're like, who you have winning the championship? And it's like,
Michael Wilbon had Ohio State.
And if you guys know Sam thinks Mike Wilbon is God.
Listen, I listen to PTI every morning before I go to work. For those that don't know, pardon the interruption, it's an ESPN show that they discuss like the sports stuff. And like Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon are like such great journalists. I grew up with them. I still love hearing their opinions on stuff. And for the most part, everything Mike Wilbon says is true. His predictions are not always right, but if he says something, it's for a reason, and usually I'll ride with that reason.
So there you have it. Mike Wilbon and Sam have this really weird relationship. But anyways.
He's a Bears fan too, Nicole, so you can appreciate that.
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on that team. That whole Nickelodeon, was just, we are going to get there and we're going to unpack the Bears game. But before that game even started, I was like, I need this to be over. The season needs to be done. This game needs to stop. I don't need young Sheldon telling people about holding calls on the Bears because I just need the season to be over.
All right. So, Nicole, any other thoughts on the national championship game? Alabama rules all.
Yes, but I was pulling for Ohio State. Like I work in the Big Ten. They did really well against Clemson. And so you're like, wow, they might, because I feel like they had some juice in them because of Dabo ranking them 11th, but also because that they didn't play as many games. So I think that they felt like they needed to prove themselves. I do think losing their star running back really hurts. But they did match. Obviously they scored the second touchdown because the second touchdown off of a Mac Jones turnover. And so and Mac Jones never, in the first half, he had 5 incompletions and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. He threw for 250 yards at halftime. So I was feeling good about my 500-yard bet. I was feeling great. I was like, Mac Jones putting it on his back.
I was really pulling for Ohio State, but that just shows where Alabama is and then where everyone else is. And it's not going away. So college football is not over. The FCS starts next month. So everyone's like, there's no football left. USD, South Dakota, go Yotes. They're lacing them up. We got spring football coming at you. Put some respect on the FCS and NDSU, the Bison. Tune in. We'll have those takes as the season goes on.
Let us know how closely you want us to cover the FCS season, because we will. I'll watch some FCS football if I have to.
Missouri Valley, baby.
Better than the AAF last spring, that's for sure.
Sam, moving forward, NFL, wild weekend. We had wall-to-wall coverage of football Saturday, Sunday, and then also Monday because of the national championship. But what did you take away from Wild Card Weekend?
Some would say it was a super wild card weekend, and by some people, I mean the NFL promotion committee that really drove that home. But what we're taking away is the Browns is the Browns. That was so great to see the Browns win. I love Baker Mayfield. Our good friend Nick played on the same intramural football team with Baker Mayfield, so in some way I have a connection to him, I swear. Lamar Jackson gets his first playoff win, which is huge. And then Mitch Trubisky wins the Nickelodeon Valuable Player Award. So, Nicole, we're going to recap the games, covering the winners here. But let's talk about who we have for next weekend. So, we got Bucs Saints. Tom Brady won his 31st playoff game last weekend. However, that's not the story here. The story is Taylor Heineke, a bum nut that was literally on the streets a month ago at Old Dominion earning a graduate degree, comes out of nowhere, plays for the Washington football team, and has a pretty good showing.
They were talking about how he's been like drafting his fantasy football team like 2 weeks ago, or like setting his roster. And now he's in the NFL.
He was as close to playing for the Washington football team as I was right now. We were in the same exact position.
No, you're not getting a graduate degree.
I work at Target. That's pretty close to the same.
You want to get your chance, and it can go, I feel like backup quarterbacks or third strings or randoms, it is either a flop or you go out and ball out. And it's like, how is it going to go? Because you have all those great miracle stories of like the Heinekes of the world. Like they just go out, he had nothing to lose. But it could have also been completely the other way. So I'm glad that it was a positive outcome.
So who you got next weekend, Saints or Bucks?
I'm taking the Bucks because I believe that their defense is stronger than the Saints.
I'm going to take the Saints, actually. It's Drew Brees' last ride. I think they try to make it happen for him. It's in New Orleans. Not a real crowd like it would normally be, but I think they try to get Drew Brees out on a high. So I'll take the Saints. Also,
I noticed after the game, Tom Brady was talking with Heineke, and I was like, oh, okay, Tom, so you'll talk to him because he lost? Tom really is like a little baby. I never realized that. Like if yes, they would have lost to the Washington football team, he would have been like running off and not talking to anybody.
Yes, I've known this for years. I've watched Tom Brady play for a long time, especially when he plays the Denver Broncos. I've never liked Tom Brady. However, I love Rob Gronkowski. So it's a tough position for me to be in with them on the same team again. But the really cool story is Taylor Heineke was on the New England Patriots practice squad for like 2 weeks, like 4 years ago. And Taylor Heineke like tried to show up to the facility at like 5 a.m., get some work in, and guess who's already there? Tom Brady. And Tom Brady's just like, who the hell are you?
I'm the 8th string quarterback, man. Just want to come learn from you.
I'm the guy that's going to be playing you in the playoffs 4 years from now, so better watch out. All right, Nicole, we're moving on. We got Packers-Rams in our next NFC divisional matchup. The Rams shocked Seattle. I did not expect the Seahawks to lose at home. But winning that game, they now have to go to Lambeau and take on Aaron Rodgers and the top-rated Packers.
As a Bears fan, I know what Aaron Rodgers can do, especially up in Green Bay. So I am going to take the Packers.
That's true. The Packers have the ultimate home field advantage, especially with the Los Angeles Rams, who are currently practicing in Thousand Oaks, California, where it's 80 degrees on Friday. And then they travel to Lambeau this weekend, where it's going to be 20 degrees with a wind chill. So that doesn't bode great news for the Rams. However, the only real way that I foresee Aaron Rodgers getting stopped is with a dominant defensive line. And the good news for the Rams is they have Aaron Donald, who might be the best defensive lineman I've ever seen. So with that, I still got the Packers, though. What?
You were like really making a case for that. And with that, I'm still going with the Packers.
If you remember our previous episode, I have Bills Packers in the Super Bowl, so I can't back down on that in their first game.
Just how you said it.
Nicole, next we're to the AFC, where the Bills take on the Ravens. The Bills won their first playoff game since 1995, and Lamar Jackson won his first playoff game period after being 0-2 going into this season, and he accounted for over 300 yards in their win. Who do you foresee winning this game?
I am going to take – is this in Buffalo? This is in Buffalo.
In Buffalo, baby.
Bills Mafia on that train. I think it's great. The Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs matchup is just electric. I was not ready for the drama that ensued with the Titans-Ravens game. I just woke up. I wasn't feeling super good. I was just like, I'm just going to park it on the couch and watch NFL all day. And wow, that was dramatic. Okay, call me a hater. I love logo stomping. I love logo dancing. People are like, that's disgraceful. That's distasteful. Like, that's just so bad. Who cares? Stomp on that logo. They stomped on yours. But I'm going with the Bills.
I'm also going with the Bills. But talking about logo stomping, the person that had the best quote unquote logo stomp was Baker Mayfield when they went up to Ohio State a few years ago, and he brings out the Oklahoma flag, comes out of nowhere, pulls out the flag, and just stabs it like a javelin straight into the heart of the Ohio State logo on the 50-yard line. That's why I love Baker Mayfield. So with that, I'm just excited to move to the next game. So I'm going to go with the Bills. We already know that. So we're moving in the next game where Baker Mayfield takes on the Chiefs. Can they do it? Could they pull the ultimate upset at Arrowhead, Nicole?
I don't think so. I think the Chiefs are just too good.
Cleveland came out and shocked Pittsburgh. Talking about getting smacked in the mouth, the Steelers got smacked in the mouth. The Browns is the Browns, but the Browns just shit on you. They come out of nowhere. They're up 28-0 at the end of the first quarter. That was the Browns' first road playoff game since 1969, Nicole. Jim Brown had to be on the team at that point. I'm not sure about that, but wow, what a long time.
We are not. Our producer needs to fact check that. Producer, did you hear that? Yes, the Chiefs, I think they're sitting on rest. They have home field advantage. Apparently, the experts say Patrick Mahomes is supposed to win like 15 Super Bowls. So what's one more this year?
1969 Cleveland Browns. Yes, Jim Brown retired July 1966. You know what? Screw it. I'll take the Browns. I love Baker Mayfield. I love the city of Cleveland. Let's go Browns. All right, Nicole, we would be remiss if we did not cover the absolute highlight and joy of my life, which was watching the Bears Saints game on Nickelodeon.
You were working. You didn't even watch it.
I know. I got home for the second half. I watched the second half on Nickelodeon. I think it was great. I think it's great for growing the sport of football. It was great that they had, I'm not sure about the young Sheldon character, but the little guy explaining the calls and stuff, because football is such a confusing game if you don't know how the game works. And it only gets more confusing because they can just make up rules as they go. Every year, the competition committee meets up and they're like, yep, we're going to make this rule. That's a new rule. It's super confusing, and I think it's super great that they did that. The logos were great. The SpongeBob thing was great. I loved it.
So we have Nickelodeon. I use my parents' TV login. Shout out mom and dad. They have cable. So we have a Roku here. And so I didn't want to download the Nickelodeon. I'm not going to download the Nickelodeon app to watch this game. I can't have 100 different apps on just to watch different games. And so I just watched the CBS broadcast. I watched it because our CBS app doesn't work. So I watched it on the Amazon Prime Video because I have Amazon Prime Video. Download the video app. Why is this so confusing? Why was it even on Nickelodeon? But yes, I agree. It was fun. It was a way to make it different at the expense of the Chicago Bears and Mitch Trubisky. And they said there were like reports. It's not even reports. It's factual. This is fact. Put me on the record. They said that Mitch Trubisky will likely not be back unless they have a deep playoff run. They didn't even score a touchdown in that game, right?
They did. They scored the Jimmy Graham one-handed catch with 0 seconds remaining. That was their one touchdown of the game.
And he's considered the Nickelodeon valuable player.
Granted, I think it was a lot of like 5 to 12-year-olds voting on that, so I'm not sure how much they generally understood what was going on in the game. But if I'm Mitch Trubisky, that trophy's going right on the mantle. MVP, baby. MVP. Nicole, the Bears put you out of your misery. However, we're going to put a smile on your face because, Nicole, you finally watched Soul. What did you think about it?
I did. I watched it the other night. Thought it was good. Thought it was cute. Probably wouldn't put it in my top 16 of Pixar. Maybe I would. I don't know. I like I said, not a huge Pixar fan, but I do appreciate it. And I felt like it was a cultured Inside Out.
I would agree with that. I mean, Like I said on the last episode, I didn't expect it to be as deep as it was. I was foolish for not thinking it was going to be a deep movie being called Soul. But overall, super cute. The animation was great. And the story was great. The story was cool. And John Baptiste, who is Stephen Colbert's Music Man, got to write all the music. So shout out to John Baptiste. Love that guy.
Wow. When they're just like, what is my purpose? It's like, holy shit, Disney.
I know. What is our purpose? Our purpose right now, Nicole, is making this podcast.
This is what I live for every 2 weeks. No other purpose in life but for this podcast. So yeah, Soul was good. How is the Pixar bracket holding up on our Insta channel?
We're doing great, Nicole. As of this recording, we are in the semifinals. It looks like Monsters, Inc. is in position to take its rightful spot in the finals after last night. And then we will have Toy Story, The Incredibles to see who's in that other final spot.
Very on brand for our audience.
I will share some insider information. Majority of our followers are between 24 and 35.
If you haven't listened to Driver's License yet, I didn't know it was like blowing up.
Blowing up.
What's happening? My roommate just like sent me a Snapchat of her crying, like, listening to Driver's License, it's all I can do. And then I went and listened to it and I was like, holy cow, this is sad, but I didn't think anything of it. And then I went on TikTok because disclaimer.
Oh no, don't go on TikTok with that song.
And this girl was texting her ex-boyfriend the lyrics to the song, and he was like responding like as if it was her, like he didn't know it was lyrics. And I was just like, oh my, what is happening? Why is this song blowing up? And she was like, I drive by your house, I still love you. And he's like, I still love you too, can we talk please? And I'm like, bro, it's a song, she's punking you, like what is happening?
The best part of this song so far, because Hannah loves TikTok, my girlfriend, was all of the conspiracy theories about who the song was about. So for those people that don't know, Olivia Rodrigo, who is the artist, is on High School Musical, the series, which came out on Disney Plus last year. And in the series, she has a love interest with Joshua Bassett. In the series, they have like a love interest. Supposedly, Joshua has written songs about her. And then now there's like all these theories that the song's about Joshua, who's now with Sabrina Carpenter, and that's the blonde girl. And in the music video, she's wearing Joshua's jacket from the series. And it's on another level. If this is another dig, this could be as good as when Justin Timberlake made What Goes Around Comes Around as a dig to Britney Spears. It's like getting to that level.
These are High School Musical, the series singers.
Yes, I know, but it is crazy.
She just like released the song and it blew up and everyone's obsessed with it?
Yep, 100%. You want to know what's crazier? This girl is like 17 years old. Personally, really love the song because I think it's so relatable. If you ever had a high school like heartbreak or heartache, it immediately puts you back in your 16-year-old self where you're like that person like dumped you or didn't take you to the prom or like something else. And you can just be like, drove past your house like, I still really love you. It hits the feels. I immediately become 16 again. My voice starts to crack, like, yeah, it's great. All right, Nicole, we do have a little bit of overtime in this podcast for what we want to do for our next bracket on our Instagram page. So I have a few ideas, wanted to talk with you about it. Might put a poll on it if we bring up our next two, so you guys can vote on what we want to do next.
I know you don't lack any creativity, so what are your ideas?
I was thinking best Will Ferrell movie, which is a lengthy list. And like I said, Will Ferrell is my favorite comedian.
Kicking and screaming.
He has some great films. The other one, though, I think you'll like this one. Best boy band of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. As someone who just saw the Backstreet Boys in concert like a year and a half ago, I do love me a good boy band. Backstreet Boys. A lot of my friends Sam's an NSYNC guy, and that really that causes a strain on our relationship. But we see past it.
All right, I'll throw it up on our Instagram page, and we'll let democracy work itself. Majority rules, just like we always do. We'll see what's next for us.
Well, that's going to do it for us here on the podcast. Peace, blessings, mentals, chickens. Take care of it all. Like and subscribe. I hate saying that, but it really helps us out. And, follow us along on social media, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Peace.